Alrighty, so before the Hell is Real derby between FC Cincinnati versus Columbus Crew is going to happen, which at the time of this recording, it's going to be 45 minutes from now, I'm going to quickly squeeze in the review of the 7 games that happened yesterday. And if you're the home team, yesterday was a good day for you because pretty much all but one home team was able to get all 3 points from yesterday. And one of those teams that got a home win is Montreal, who of course got some revenge in this game against Toronto FC after Montreal lost in the Canadian Championship semifinal earlier this season, and that they of course get the Canadian Classic in MLS with a 1-0 win against TFC. Though if you kind of watch how this game played out, this wasn't as close as the scoreline suggested. I mean, this probably should have been more than the 1-0 win that Montreal has, and that Montreal probably didn't need to really sweat it out in the last 10 minutes after they had a man sent off and they were playing down to 10 men for the last 9 minutes of the game. But nevertheless, Montreal does get the win, and that they were looking for an early goal in the early part of this game, as they almost had one if it wasn't for Bono absolutely robbing Kamara from a point blank effort. What a save that was from Alex Bono to deny Kamara from point blank range. And then Kamara had another opportunity, but he flashed one wide from long range, and it was all Montreal early in this game as they were pressing to get the opener. Though on the other end, TFC almost scored against the run of play, but Pantemis was able to deny Mark MTK on that opportunity. Very interesting to see James Pantemis starting in this game and not Sebastian Briza. Consider Briza has been pretty much the regular starter for Montreal in this game. But Bono then denied Mijevic from close range before Waterman hits one right to Bono. And then Bono tipped Piet shots over, as you know, Alex Bono, he was definitely on top of his game. And I think there was also some poor Montreal finish. It's kind of the reason why this game remained 0-0. Piet then fired one high from long range, and despite a lot of chances that Montreal has in this first half, remained scoreless heading into the second half of this Canadian Classic. Now, in the 50th minute, Kyoto looked to break that scoreless draw, but he flashed one wide from close range as Montreal kind of picked up where they left off and continued to press for the opener. Mijevic then puts it wide in the near post in the 52nd minute, but then in the 69th minute, finally Montreal break through, and it was actually an own goal by McNulton, who I forgot actually to put in parentheses own goal there because he of course does not play for Montreal. And originally this was actually awarded to Kyoto because when you look on how that header was able to find the back of the net, it looked like it was Kyoto the one that heads it in. But later on, they did find out that McNulton was actually the one that kind of chest that one. Well, not really chest that one, but it kind of hits off of his shoulder and it bounced into the back of the net. And of course, when that happens, it is an own goal, and certainly very unfortunate for the young TFC defender there. But yeah, that gives Montreal a well-deserved 1-0 lead, though that lead looked like it was short-lived in the 72nd minute as Akinola looked like tied the game up for TFC straight away, but the goal was disallowed for offside, and a huge sigh of relief has to be in that sold-out crowd at Sauce Saputo, because can you imagine the fact that you worked so hard to get that opening goal only to concede on the other end and the game is all tied up? And I even wrote, Montreal, they got to be careful not to give TFC back into this game because, a goal like that or even a disallowed goal might give TFC a chance to believe, and their belief might have got even better in the 81st minute because this is when Montreal went down to 10 men as Kamal Miller, for the first time in his MLS career, he of course was sent off in this game with a second yellow card, though Toy did have a chance to seal it for Montreal, but he struck the post. And really, as times wind down, I mean, TFC was really pushing for the equalizer. Like, Montreal was just trying to seize the game out, and TFC had a big opportunity to tie it with O'Neal free header, but Pantemis was able to make an incredible save, in fact, robbing O'Neal there on that free header. And in the end, despite the pressure that Montreal has to withstand from TFC, they hold on to win 1-0 in this one. As the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 7 that TFC had, 4 shots on goal compared to 5 that Montreal has, 3 shots off target compared to 9 that Montreal has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to none that TFC had, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that TFC has in this game. And majority of those shots from Toronto didn't really come until the latter part of this game because, like I said, it was a complete domination that Montreal has against TFC, and that they're probably very fortunate that they were able to walk away with a 1-0 victory, because as much as sometimes you can be dominant in a game, when you don't take your opportunity, it could come back to haunt you. And that, for Montreal, they're probably very lucky the fact that it did not come back to haunt them, and they get a much needed 3 points in this Canadian Classic over their Canadian rival. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Philly versus New England. So, this was another game where, for the most part, the Union were the better team against the Revs. And then the Revs, of course, kind of score against the run of play, only for the Union to kind of show some resilience in this game and got a come from behind victory in this one against New England. Now, in the first half, Petrovic did deny Finley from long range, as it was kind of a rotation squad for the Union in this game. There was a lot of youngster for the Union in this game we're playing in this one, though. One thing about we know about the Union, whenever, even if they put a B team in this, it's a strong team because a lot of these players come from the promising Union Academy. Martinez then flashed one wide from long range before Gazdag actually hits one right to Petrovic from long range, and it was kind of bombs away for the Union early in this one. Like, they were fancying themselves goal of the week goal with so many of long range shot, and that would kind of continue throughout this game, as in the 22nd minute, Petrovic had to deny Glasnes from 25 yards out. We know Jacob Glasnes can hit a golazo from long range, and he almost had a trademark kind of golazo again, but Petrovic was able to deny him there. But then on the other end, Barraro struck the post and almost kind of scored against the run of play for the Revs. Like, up to that point, it was pretty much all Philly up to that one. McGlynn had an opportunity from long range, but he fires that one wide in the 34th minute as we head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, Nathan Hariel hits it high from close range before, once again, I thought the Union were on the front foot early, and they were continuing firing shots outside the box. Like, they were not afraid to test Petrovic in this game. And, there's one thing, when you decide to continue to shoot from outside the box, it's a good thing, because that means you are being ambitious, but also you kind of don't want to have that habit of trying to shoot from outside the box so many times, because those are low percentage shot, and there's not a lot of time when we see goals that can be produced from outside the box. And that, I was kind of wondering, are the Union maybe need to think about trying to just set up play and not just go for the first option from outside the box. So I guess you can also argue the fact that, the Revs weren't doing a very good job in terms of some of those closing down, because some of those shots from outside the range, there was barely any closing down that was found from the Revs defense. In fact, in the 56th minute, Petrovic once again denied a shot from outside the range, this time from McGlynn, as that shot actually took a deflection, and Petrovic somehow able to readjust himself to make the save there. But then in the 61st minute, Gustavo Bo would score from by and heel to give the Revs a 1-0 lead, and this was probably the best team goal we've seen so far this season. Like, this was a 15-pass combination that resulted in a goal. You usually don't see that happen often, but what a team goal that was for the Revs to really set up back to front. And if you want to see probably the perfect goal that is scored by a team, this is probably a goal that you should watch, of how beautiful it is set up. But at the same time, it was also against the run of play too, because again, the Revs didn't have a lot of opportunity up to that point, and they were able to lead 1-0 against the Union in this one. And then Blake denying Bo and his second chance to get or his second goal of this game in the 66th minute, and the momentum was definitely with New England, and it feels like that goal really deflated the Union, because they were really pushing to get that goal, and now all of a sudden they find themselves 1-0 down. But to the credit of the Philadelphia Union, they did dig deep, and that, there's a reason why they are considered a top team in the Eastern Conference, because they don't just fold easily, even if they do concede a goal against the run and play. And that determination was rewarded by a goal in the 75th minute, as Uru would continue his hot streak from Wagner to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Keep in mind, Uru, he was kind of a forgotten hero. The fact that, we talked about Julian Carranza being the hat-trick hero, but Uru, I think in the last game, had 2 goals in that 7-0 thrashing that they had against DC United, and he continued this good form that he has, which is definitely great news for the Union. Consider this was supposed to be the guy that is not only going to replace Shibilko in terms of goal scoring production, but also being better than what Shibilko is in the number 9 position. And then just 3 minutes later, a penalty was given to the Union as Kester would shove Gastak in the box. Yeah, I mean, Henry Kester knew what he was doing there, and if he didn't shove Gastak in the box, I think Gastak would have just easily puts it in. But you know, Gastak still had to show some composure in the box to trying to score the second goal, and they did, and he did exactly that. Buried that one top left corner, no chance for Petrovic to save that one. But yeah, that gave the Union a 2-1 lead. Boateng then heads it into the side netting before Bell hits it wide from close range. And as the time winds down, it looked like the refs were pressing late for an equalizer, and the Union kind of started to drop back a little bit. And that, you know, that's also one of the criticism for the Union in this season, where it feels like every time when they have that 1-goal lead, they immediately started to put the foot off the gas, thinking that it was going to be enough. And knowing the fact that the refs has a history in terms of scoring late goals, yeah, I don't think this was the correct tactics, and this is something that Jim Curtin wants to see his team, because again, they were pressing late for the equalizer. Boateng had another opportunity late, but he hits one right to Blake before Bo had a header that was clear off the line in the second minute of stoppage time. But despite the many chances that the refs got late in the game, the Union was able to hold on to win 2-1 in this one, and the refs aren't able to get the equalizer. But the shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 18 that the refs had, 7 shots on goal compared to 6 that Philly has, 8 shots off target compared to 9 that the refs had, 2 shots on block compared to 6 that the Union has, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that the Union has in this game. And again, this game also is similar to this one with the way that, you know, just like this one, how the visitor kind of pushed late for the equalizer, the same goes for this one, where the visitor really pushed late for an equalizer. But overall, with the 3 points, the Union stay at the top of the Eastern Conference, and now they're starting to finally win games. I mean, this is kind of the problem that they had back in May and June, where they were drawing way too many games, they were dropping way too many points from winning position. But now it seems like they finally find their stride again, and that, yeah, we'll see whether or not if that will continue with them continue to be at the top spot of the Eastern Conference. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Fire and the Sounders. And I gotta say, you know, the Chicago Fire, you know, they have definitely found their home form, because, again, if you ignore that implosion that they had in the hands of the Columbus Crew, this team has been lights out at home, and that Soldier Field has really started to become a fortress, and that not only the mighty Seattle Sounders were able to knock off the Fire in this one, and that I think this is also another example of how any given team can beat anyone, because coming into this game, you would have said the Sounders were heavy favorites. Yes, they have struggled in these last couple of games, but you would expect that they still were able to be favorites and have enough to beat the Fire, right? Well, that doesn't seem like was the case. Though they did have some opportunity in the early bit, as in the 7 minutes, Slonina would deny Morris as he went through on goal. It's safe to say that Gaga Slonina has started to found his confidence back. I mean, remember how he was very shaky in the month of June, and it kind of was started because of all the rumors of him being a future U.S. men's national team, and that it seems like those rumor of him potentially moving to Chelsea has not died down. But it feels like now that he started to maybe calm himself down a little bit and start to find that confidence, because he definitely looked like a much better goalkeeper than what we saw a month ago. But then Yamar hits it wide in the 8th minute as the Sounders were on the front foot and looked to get the opener. Cleveland then denied Shabilko on the volley, but then in the 23rd minute, Shihos would score from Navarro to give the Fire a 1-0 lead. I believe that's the second goal for the Fire captain Rafael Shihos to give his team the lead in what turns out to be the winning goal of this game. And then they had a chance to make it 2-0 if it wasn't for Cleveland robbing Gutierrez, who was clean on goal on that one. And that, yeah, for the youngster Brian Gutierrez, he definitely want to have that one back with him being clean on goal there. And that if you're going to be a guy that is touted to be a lethal goal scorer, those are the one that you got to think that he has to finish. But there was no doubt the momentum was with the Fire and the Sounders. They were just looking disjointed at the back. And that's something I don't say a lot about the Sounders this season or ever. But they were looking really disjointed, and it was pretty easy for the Fire to kind of pick them apart. But in the 43rd minute, Yamar did heads it high from close range before Pineda Fire went straight to Cleveland in the second minute of stoppage time, and we head to halftime with the Fire leading 1-0 against the Seattle Sounders. Now, in the second half, Mueller had a shot that was blocked by his own teammate there, so that's kind of unfortunate when that happens. But then Shibilko puts it high from close range in the 56 minutes, because that's pretty much the life of Kasper Shibilko at the time with the Fire. I mean, he has kind of become the new Robert Baric for the Chicago Fire, where he just are not able to finish chances and have looked like a number 9 that just look completely lost out there and have no confidence whatsoever. Though Torres did hits one straight to Cleveland, and again, Chicago getting a lot of chances, had a big opportunity to double that lead, but the bad finishing that we talk about from them this season, both at home and on the road, you just wonder, is it going to come back to haunt them in this one? And unlike in the last game, where at least they got a 2-goal cushion, they only have a 1-goal cushion, and when you have a 1-goal cushion and you lead the Seattle Sounders a chance to get back in the game, you are going to be punished, no matter if you're playing on the road or in this case at home. Though Shaqiri did have a chance to make it 2-0, and he actually decided to go for the Olympic goal, but it was tipped over by Cleveland. Rusnak then fires it wide from close range before Slonina denied Morris, who was one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and you know that Morris want to have that one back. I mean, Jordan Morris, with how hot he's been, he doesn't miss a lot of those opportunities, and you just kind of feel like the Fire was on the ropes. Like, the Sounders were really pushing to trying to get this equalizer, but in the end, the Fire survived, and they were able to win 1-0 in this one. A huge victory that has give them hope in terms of getting themselves back in the playoff race. As the shots in this one, 9 shots compared to 15 that the Sounders had, 5 shots on goal compared to just 2 that the Sounders had, 6 shots off target compared to 1 that the Fire has, 7 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And that, for the Fire, I think this have now gotten some out of the bottom. Well, I think they've been out of the bottom for a while, but they definitely got themselves back in, well, I wouldn't say back in the playoff race yet, but getting close in terms of that. And then if they can just figure out their road form, then yeah, they could definitely get themselves back in their home form. And it feels like Ezra Henriksen team is starting to kind of figure out. I mean, mostly they figured out on the defensive department, because they haven't given up a lot of goals in these last couple of games. It started to kind of look like the team earlier this season, where they've been very stable on the defensive part. But on the attacking front, that is still a struggle. I mean, that's something that I think they're definitely going to have to improve if they want to be a playoff contender, because they could have easily won this one 3 or 4-0 against the Sounders if they were being very clinical in terms of their finishing. But speaking of the Sounders, and in terms of their finishing, it was also woeful too. And don't look now, but the Sounders have now lost 3 games in a row, and that they have not scored a goal in any of those 3 games that they have lost. And that, that second half resurgence that we thought the Sounders were in, it has come to a grinding halt. And that I think this is also where you can clearly see that they missed Raul Ruidiaz badly in this one. I mean, he didn't play in this one, and that it just feels like, I know there's been times where the Sounders are able to still win games when Ruidiaz is not on the pitch, but I think it is safe to say that a Sounders team with Ruidiaz and without Ruidiaz is still going to be a little bit different. And when they have Ruidiaz, they're always going to be threatened on the attack. But without Ruidiaz, then it could be a little bit of a problem, especially when they do play on the road against a relatively good defensive team. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Minnesota versus DC, and is the Loons allowed to have a stress-free game? Because this was really the first time this season where I actually saw a win by the Loons, where I didn't have to be stressed out, and I didn't had to be holding my butt and basically clinching it in the last 10 minutes, thinking that they were going to blow a game. Now, if they are facing against DC, and DC is not a good team whatsoever, in fact, one if not the worst team right now in the league, and also in some way Minnesota had to pay a bit of a price in terms of getting this victory, with the question of the health of Will Trapp after he had to be subbed off of what seems like a non-contact injury. And whenever it's a non-contact injury, you better hope that it's not the A injury that I mentioned a lot, where a lot of these players suffer this because of a non-contact injury, and that basically pretty much is saying goodbye to their season. But in terms of the positive itself, I mean, again, this is the first time that I actually see a Minnesota United game where not only they got the win, but it was just a comfortable win, which I thought it wasn't allowed with this team, of how it feels like they keep giving me heart attack every single week with some of these close wins or these comeback wins that they have. Now, in the first half, Almeria puts it wide from close range before he puts it right to Romo in the 5th minute, but don't let that distract you, the fact that Luis Almeria has been in a very good form, and although he didn't get on the score sheet in this one, he got on the assist chart, and it seems like it's like now that not only the fact that he's playing with such a good confidence, but he's quietly started to build a great partnership between him and Reynoso, and it was a big factor in this one, because in the 7th minute, after Reynoso fired it wide from close range, and I thought it was a promising start for the Loons early in this game, and that I also was hoping maybe the finishing would follow up, because up to that point, it wasn't up to par. And then on the other end, Singh actually had a free header and one of the rare opportunities that DC had, but missed high from close range. In the 13th minute, the Loons would open the scoreline, and it's Reynoso scoring from Almeria to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. It will be the last time that both of these players will be combined in terms of the goal scoring and the assist chart tonight. As in the 32nd minute, Reynoso had an opportunity to make it 2-0, but he puts it wide from long range, and then Rosales puts it wide from long range in the 36th minute. By the way, I forgot to mention, around the 20th minute, that's when Will Trapp, of course, had to be subbed off on that. Rosales had to replace him because the fact that he of course suffered that non-contact injury, and from what I heard, it seems like he's not walking on clutches anymore, and that it seems like he is going to be okay, which is a huge sigh of relief, because I know that midfield is already depleted. Like, there's still a question of when exactly Arriaga is going to be back in that midfield, and that I feel like the Loons cannot afford to lose Trapp in that place. And as much as Trapp has been kind of mediocre this season, we don't have a lot of bodies left in that defensive midfield, and it's getting to a point where if we do actually lose Trapp from long period of time, it's just going to be Rosales and probably Arriaga in that D-mid spot, unless Adrian Heath decides to just go with one D-mid, or they might be thinking about looking for a defensive midfield reinforcement in the summer transfer window. Though, that being said, again, the Loons in complete control, but, can they get that second goal, which, for this season, at least for the most part, it's been a problem. Like, that second goal has always kind of plagued them. Taylor tried to do so, but he flashed one wide from long range. I thought DJ Taylor had another good game in this one, and I think he's gonna have an interesting competition with him and Alan Benitez in terms of that spot. Though I actually don't think they play on the same side, and if they do, it's gonna be a good competition, because DJ Taylor has really held his own this season, and that he had another good game in this one, and it was a great first half for the Loons, but you just kind of sense that with them only up 1-0, there's always that doubt that knowing that fact that this team has not been able to keep clean sheet, they need to score more than one goal if they want to win all 3 points. And in the second half, they did exactly that, as in the 50th minute, Reynoso would score again, and guess who? Almeria here to make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. And though this was kind of a gift from DC, I mean, this was just a terrible giveaway for DC in their own half to give it right to Almeria, who sets it up perfectly to Reynoso to put that one in. And Reynoso actually didn't get a lot into that, so you kind of also going to question Romo in terms of the fact that maybe he should have done better, especially his positioning, trying to save that one. But nevertheless, Minnesota were up 2-0. Could have been 3-0, and for a second it was 3-0 in the 56th minute, as Fragapane would score what looked like it was the third goal, but for the second match in a row, his goal was disallowed because of offside. Actually, I don't know if the goal last week, was it Fragapane that scored the second goal, and then it was chopped off because of offside against Sporting KC? It might be him. If it isn't, this of course is the second consecutive week that the Loons of course had a goal that was disallowed for offside, but this one was right, just like last week, rightfully disallowed because of the fact that Fragapane was at least a yard or two in an offside position. And then Huane hits it right to Romo, and another guy that has been hungry to score goals, Bongi Huane. And I got a feel for him. I mean, he is trying hard to get that first goal. I mean, he's been able to get on the assist chart a couple of times, but as a goal scorer like him, he needs goals, and that if he can finally break through and score that first goal, something tells me he can definitely go on a streak. But there was no doubt that they were hungry to try to get the third goal, the Loons, and that DC, it just feel like they were going through the motion. Like it just feel like from minute one, they did not want to be there. And then in the 82nd minute, Almeria had a wild shot that goes into the wonder wall in the 82nd minute. But like I said, it was relatively comfortable. I mean, DC really didn't trouble Minnesota, and that I don't even recall one time that Dane Sinclair made a save. I mean, this was probably the most comfortable game that Dane Sinclair has ever had. Consider how many times he has to come up big to bail out this team game after game. But yeah, in the end, the Loons win 2-0 against DC, and the shots in this one and the stats kind of tells you how it was a comfortable game for Minnesota from minute one. 17 shots compared to just 5 that DC had. 6 shots on goal compared to 0 shots on goal that DC had. 2 shots off target compared to 6 that Minnesota has. 5 shots on blocked compared to 3 that DC had. And possession-wise, 47% possession compared to 53% possession that DC has in this game. And with this win, the Loons are all the way up to 3rd place in the Western Conference at the time being, because, you know, with some of the Sunday games that's going to happen, we'll see whether or not if they're going to stay in that spot, or probably they're going to be drop themselves back down to 5th place. But yeah, what a 3 weeks it's been made. I mean, 3 weeks ago it looked like it was doom and gloom, and the Heath Out Brigade was definitely in full force. And while the Heath Out Brigade probably are still there, but they're just kind of quietly just making the rumble, saying that this is just kind of false hope for the team. I do feel like this is something that, you know, for Minnesota, this is kind of something similar to what we saw last year, where, you know how they had that bad start to the season, and then they gone on a crazy run to really get themselves high up in the standings. It feels like it's happening again this time, and let's see whether if it's going to continue, because there's one thing to get hot in the summer, but I you know, not to be negative, I hope that doesn't mean that they will go through a cold stretch during a bad time of period, and that bad time of the period is going to be heading into September and October. But for now, things are looking bright for this team, where it was a couple of weeks ago, it looked like it was doom and gloom, and I thought that this team was going to miss the playoffs, and there was a real possibility that maybe there could be some serious changes that needs to be made for this team. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 3 games that happened in terms of the Saturday action. But yeah, moving on in terms of the next match is the Colorado Rapids and the LA Galaxy. So as I mentioned, this was the desperation derby between both of these teams. And in the end, the Rapids won the desperation derby and finally end their 6-game winless run in this one against the Galaxy. Now, early on, just 6 minutes into the game, Zardes actually went around the keeper and actually was trying to tap it in, but was blocked by Williams there before Joveljic decided to go on his bike, but he whiffs that one. I mean, why not for Dejan Joveljic? He's been in such a hot form. Why not score a spectacular goal like he almost did there? But yeah, the technique wasn't really on point. Though in the 19th minute, Yarbrough would rob Williams from point blank range. I gotta say that is probably the one of the best saves we have seen, not only for this week but probably for the year. Like, this was just hit so well from Derek Williams, and I have no idea how Yarbrough was able to keep this one out from point blank range that Williams hits that one. But that turns out to be a big save, because just 1 minute after that big save to keep this one at 0-0, the Rapids were broke through. It's Rubio scoring from Lewis and Wilson to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. And then it looked like it was 2-0 in favor of Colorado in the 24th minute, when Jerzy Zardes thought that he scored his second goals for the Rapids and scored for the second game in a row, but his goal was disallowed because Rubio interfered with the goalkeeper and was in an offside position, and that was the right call. I mean, you can clearly see that Rubio was in an offside position. He was kind of interfering Bond there, and when you did that, yeah, that's not going to stand. Though Yarbrough on the other end denied Joveljic from close range before Revolson had a shot that was deflected off of his own teammate and mishired, and the Galaxy was building some momentum. They were looking to try to get the equalizer before halftime, though Acosta did fire a rocket outside the box for the Rapids, but he was denied by Bond as we head to halftime, with the Rapids leading 1-0 against the Galaxy. And it looked like they tied it straight away when Efrain Alvarez was able to put the ball into the back of the net, only to be denied by the flag, and the goal was disallowed for offside. Barrios then flashed one wide from the back post before Lewis hits the side netting in the 65th minute as the Rapids regained the momentum that they had. I mean, they kind of lost it near the end of the first half, but they regained it in the beginning of the second half and was pushing for that second goal, and they do get the second goal as Jarzy's Artist, who was denied of a goal by the well, not the well, yeah, in some way the offside, but also in terms of VAR, because they did go to VAR to look at that. He wasn't denied this time as he scored here from Lewis to make it 2-0 in favor of the Rapids. A lot of credit has to give to Jonathan Lewis here. I mean, this was a lovely back heel that he has, and anytime when you have like a back heel goal or a back heel assist, it's always lovely to see. Though that probably shouldn't have happened if it wasn't committed because of a WTF turnover from a Gary. And keep in mind, WTF turnover is going to be a common thing, I will say, about this week, because a lot of goals this week came off a bad turnover, and this was one of them where, yeah, just a careless giveaway from Gary from his own half, and it just allowed the Rapids to go on the other end, and they capitalized on that. And then Lewis trying to get himself on the score sheet, because you know that he's definitely hungry to get on the score sheet after assisting the last 2 goals, but he hits one right to Bond, and yeah, in the end, the Rapids were able to hold on to win 2-0, as it wasn't really much that happened in the last 10 minutes of this game. The shots in this one, 18 shots for the 10 that the Rapids had, 5 shots on goal for the 2 that the Galaxy had, 4 shots off target for the 10 that the Galaxy had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that the Rapids has in this game. And as I said, the Rapids they desperately needed this win, and they got that to snap out of a 6-game winless run. But for the Galaxy, it is a miracle the fact that they're still above the red line right now. Though, again, depending on how Resort is going to be with tonight, we'll see whether they stay above the red line. But I'm pretty sure every Galaxy fans are basically punching the panic button right now, because this team is just going down a spiral, and that they're in a very tough stretch that have now got them pretty close in terms of falling out of the playoff line, and probably would be falling out of the playoff line if they continue to perform like they did in this game against the Rapids. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Texas Derby between FC Dallas versus Austin FC, and this looked like it was a repeat of the FC Dallas versus Houston Dynamo game, minus what we saw in terms of stoppage time, because my oh my, this game was a wild game between both of these Texas rivals. And don't let that scoreline fool you, the fact that this game could have been easily 5-4 or 4-3 in terms of the scoreline if it wasn't for some spectacular save by the goalkeeper, and the woodwork decided to play a big part in this game too. Now, in the first half, I noticed there was a lot of Verde in the crowd at Toyota Park, and that's not a big surprise. You know, Austin, they have a big fan base. We saw it earlier this season when Austin played against the Dynamo on the road at PNC Field, where there was a lot of Verde and a lot of Austin fans were supporting their team. But I feel like there was more than I saw here in Dallas, with just a whole swath of green jersey, and especially a lot of Verde in one part of the end as the away section. That was probably the most packed I've seen an away section this season in MLS. And early on, they actually had an opportunity in the first minute as Paz had to deny Daniel Pereira after just a WTF turnover from Hedges. And then Cascante had a chance to make it 1-0 for Austin not long after, but he heads it over the bar. Stuver then denied Fierro from close range in the 5th minute, and it was a lively start to this Texas Derby, and that would kind of foreshadow how the remaining part of this game is going to look, because in the 7th minute, there was just a crazy sequence where Stuver actually denied Ariola and actually put that one on the post, but as that ball bounced off the post, it actually somehow deflected off of Matt Hedges, and I'm not sure did he know a lot about that, but yeah, that he kind of deflected off of him and then struck the post for the second time, and then there was just a mad scramble for the ball as that one came off the post for the second time, and somehow Austin was able to escape by clearing that ball away. I mean, that was probably one of the craziest sequences I've seen so far this season, and probably one of the craziest sequence that does not resort a goal, because I think we can all agree the craziest sequence this season is that game between the Quakes and the Fire, and that in how the Quakes had like 6 opportunities to score and eventually they put it in. But you know, this is definitely one of the crazier sequences, and probably the craziest sequence which it does not result in a goal after this play. But in the 22nd minute, it's Driussi time to struck the post on a curler shot, and again, the post was taking no prisoner early in this one. That it was getting its work cut out, and that both of these teams just could not put one on target. Arriola then sends one over the bar from close range, but then in the 42nd minute, he would score from Fiera and Velasco to give Dallas a 1-0 lead, and that would be the scoreline as we head into the second half. So we go to the second half, and early on, Nanu almost scored an own goal, and there was actually a miscommunication between him and Pos, but somehow, in some way, Pos was able to dive to his left and prevent that one of being an own goal before Cervania puts it high from long range in the 50th minute. And this game has really started to become a combination of El Tráfico and El Capitan between Dallas and Houston from the last game, because it was just end-to-end action between both of these teams. There was chances left and right. Stuver would then rob Stuver would rob Velasco's shot that took a deflection from 12 yards out in the 69th minute. Before on the other end, on the same end in the 77th minute, Stuver would deny Hara in the front post, and you're thinking maybe Dallas has the momentum. And then next thing you know, Fagundes would score from Driussi and Felipe to send the Verde Faithful at Toyota Park in a frenzy. In fact, this was probably one of the loudest I've heard the away fans celebrate. I mean, you can definitely see when they, of course, show the shots of those Austin fans in that one section celebrate. They were going absolutely nuts, and they have every right to do so, because this goal is a huge goal in terms of them not only salvaging a draw, but also potentially winning the Copa Tejas for them. Though again, that goal probably wouldn't have come because of a bad turnover from Dallas. Like, they literally turned the ball over near their own box, and next thing you know, Austin was off to the races, and they were able to capitalize on just a sloppy mistake from that Dallas back line. And then in the 83rd minute, there was an incredible double save from Paz as he robbed not only Driussi from point blank, but somehow was able to quickly get up and rob Cascante on the follow-up. Like, Cascante thought that he had an empty net to shoot that one with the way that Paz was already committed on the first shot, but somehow in some way Paz was able to get up quickly and rob Cascante on the second effort for Austin. But there was no doubt that Los Verdes has all the momentum, and they were pushing for a winner. But if there's one thing that I probably shouldn't wrote, is momentum, because it does not exist in this game with how end-to-end it was. After Paz would deny Houston from close range, on the other end, Stuver would deny Fiera in the back post. And then on the other end, Hedges had the last chance for Dallas, but puts the header wide. Well, actually, not on the other end, but this actually happened on the same end, as Dallas actually had one last opportunity to score the second goal to win Copa Tejas and win this game. But in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one, as the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 10 that Austin has, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that Austin has, 8 shots off target for the 4 that Austin has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Austin has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that Dallas has in this game. It was a wild game. I mean, this was one of the best game I've seen so far this season, that kind of ended in a low-scoring kind of game. Again, if you didn't watch this game, you would have no idea how crazy it was, and that again, I definitely wish that we might see another Texas Derby, which I think we are not going to see another one, because I don't think Austin is going to be playing against Houston or Dallas, or even Dallas playing against Houston anymore. But if these are kind of the Texas Derby I'm going to see for next season, then I'm definitely excited, because this year has, especially these last couple of Texas Derby, are some of the best that I've seen ever. But congratulations to Austin FC, of course, lifting their first ever Copa Tejas trophy with them winning this game. And they kind of celebrated not only they actually didn't lift the trophy in front of at Toyota Park, but instead they actually lifted the trophy at the parking lot, which is kind of an interesting way to lift the Copa Tejas trophy. I mean, they could have just done it at the away end, but they lifted at the parking lot, and there was tons of Austin fans was waiting for the players to lift the trophy. And that, again, that's the passion of Austin, and why I think as much as I know they still have an owner that is considered the most hated owner in MLS, the fan base is definitely real, and that the passion that this fan base has given to this team is something that we usually don't see a lot in this league, and that you can see what it means to them, especially when they score that equalizer, knowing that might be the goal that get them the first ever trophy in their young club existence. But now moving on, in terms of the last match on this board, is Inter Miami versus Charlotte FC, and this was probably the closest one in terms of a match that the away team won. In fact, Charlotte had a 2-0 lead in this one and heading into the second half, and it looked like they were on their way to get back-to-back road wins after getting their first ever road win in franchise history, and then they decided to hit the self-destruct button for the first time in their franchise history. Though, I will say that when you look at how this game plays out, I think Inter Miami kind of deserve to win this game, even though, this was partially of them eventually persuade and get the winning goal. Well, not only the winning goal, but the equalizer after going 2-0 down, and also Charlotte FC basically just completely imploded and kind of had a very Chicago Fire kind of implosion in this game against Inter Miami. Now, in the first half, the reason why I actually talked about this game last is because this was actually the last game to kick off out of the Saturday action, as there was a lightning delay in this game, of course, because it's South Florida, or just Florida in general. Like, Orlando City and Inter Miami are literally leading the league this season, and probably for the past couple of seasons, because of lightning delay. And this one was delayed for 82 minutes as the kickoff was set at 9:22 p.m., which again, whenever there's a late kickoff, you're thinking, is there going to be some MLS After Dark kind of shenanigans here? And there definitely was. But because just 1 minute into the game, and I like how right as the ball was going to kick off, Ray Hudson actually mentioned that he expected there was going to be goals to be scored in this game, and I'm not sure if Ray Hudson is the oracle or probably may went into a time machine before he's saying that, because he not only was right about that, it was instant. Like, just 25 seconds into this game, Jordi Reyna, which scored from Schwedetsky to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead, and not only the fact that is the fastest goal that has been scored this season, and by far the fastest goal that Charlotte FC have ever scored in their franchise history, but it also came off of a bad turnover for Miami. Again, just so many bad turnovers from the Saturday action that had result in a goal, and this was another one of those that give Charlotte FC a 1-0 lead. And also, this won't be the last time I'll talk about how a bad turnover by one of these teams in the defensive end would result in the ball being in the back of the net. But in the 9th minute, Callender would then deny Reyna from long range, as Jordi Reyna was definitely fancying himself. Like, he had a couple of opportunity early in this game and definitely was lively. And the same goes for Charlotte. Like, they come out strong in this game and we're looking for a second goal. Though after a bit of a slow start, Miami did eventually get into this game, and they kind of created a couple of half chances, and then it turns to real chances, because in the 25th minute, Kalina would then rob Campana on the doorstep of the goal before Vasilev had a shot that was clear off the line by Affo, and then Campana had another opportunity in the 38th minute, but he fires it set wide after, again, just a bad turnover from Charlotte, and that Miami continued to try to press for one back, but instead of them having a chance to get one back, Charlotte would score a second goal. And it's Jordi Reyna scoring from McNeil to give Charlotte a 2-0 lead. Definitely a contention for goal of the week, because that was a lovely curler from Jordi Reyna. Pretty much put that one upper 90 on the right side. And yeah, that gives Charlotte a 2-0 lead. And if you're Inter Miami, that has to be deflated with the way that they look like they were back into this game. And next thing you know, they find themselves 2-0 down heading into the second half. And in the second half, McNeil did blast it high from long range before Pozuelo, making his first start in this game for Inter Miami. Almost had his debut goal in this one, but he hits this one right to Kalina as Miami continue to dictate the game, and we're looking to try to get one back. And they do get one back in the 59th minute as Robert Taylor would score from Gregory to give Miami a goal back and get themselves back into the game. And it looked like they tied the game immediately just 3 minutes later when Higuain puts it in, but unfortunately the flag was already up, so the goal was disallowed for offside. But just 10 minutes later, he would not be denied by the flag, because he would score in the 72nd minute from Gregory to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And you can definitely see that Gonzalo Higuain, he's definitely trying to not only score some goals for the team, but he's trying to win his starting spot back. I mean, he knows how Campana has really been on his game for these last couple of months, and that he's really kind of solidified as the go-to number 9 for this Miami team. And he's kind of like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be the leader and supposed to be the big name number 9 of this team, and now he's of course is started to score this team. And that, yeah, the game was all tied at 2 apiece, and the momentum was now all with Miami. And that, you know, Charlotte, not only the fact that they look absolutely gassed in this game, but they have just smashed the self-destruction button. Like, we usually do not see the Charlotte team just self-destruct like they did in this one, but you just kind of had a sense with about 18 minutes to go. Yeah, Charlotte could be in for a long night, and that, yeah, I won't be surprised Miami could get that third goal. And Taylor actually had a chance to get that third goal in the 79th minute, but the header goes wide from close range. And then as the time winds down, you know, again, I thought Miami was going to put that pressure to get that third goal, but somehow in some way, despite the fact that Charlotte looked gassed, they found an extra gear and started to really tighten up on the defensive end and limiting the chances that Miami was given to try to get themselves a winner. Well, that until they once again commit a poor turnover in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. And as I said, this week there's been a lot of goals that's been punished because of bad turnover, and this one was punished too. As in the 3rd minute, Emerson Rodriguez would score here, and I believe that's his first goal for Inter Miami and his first career MLS goal, because I don't think Emerson Rodriguez have ever scored for Inter Miami this season. But not only the fact that this came off of a bad turnover from Charlotte, Kalina should have saved it. I mean, as good as Kalina has been this season, and he's been great this season for Charlotte, he would definitely not want to look that one back, and he would definitely also want to have that one back too, because, you know, it wasn't the best strike from Emerson Rodriguez there, and that, you know, Kalina definitely got a hand to it, but just not enough to keep that one out. And yeah, in the end, Inter Miami, of course, not only complete the comeback, but they also completely turned this game around, going from 2-0 down to win 3-2, which is something you usually don't see happen often, but they did that. Though I will say that, you know, it doesn't happen, and it has now happened twice in the last two and a half weeks with the way that it happened earlier. Just a couple of weeks between the Fire and the Columbus Crew, but still, it's an incredible comeback for Inter Miami, and it feels like they were in for a game where it continued to continue the storyline of them being inconsistent. But in terms of the shots in this game, you also see how, you know, Inter Miami in the end did deserve all 3 points in this one, because they outshot Charlotte 15-4 in this game. 7 shots on goal for the 3 that Charlotte has. 1 shot that was off target for the 2 that Miami has. No shots that was blocked for the 6 that Miami has. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Charlotte has in this game. And again, you know, despite the fact it was total domination by Miami for most part on the stats, you know, they almost lost this one because they just committed some mistake on the other end, and also a golazo that was scored from Charlotte FC. But, you know, at least in some way they can thank Charlotte FC of also committing mistake on their own half, and also decided to look absolutely gassed in the last couple of minutes of this game. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these game and also the 4 other games that I mentioned earlier. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.